And I'm not saying
Well,
that
wouldn't
was
it be dumb for Comey to come out and say that we've reopened an investigation on Hillary Clinton and that we've announced the results of a investigation? Wouldn't that also be dumb? Didn't that also happen? Wasn't that also maybe election determinative?
Seeing as how you brought it up, and I've answered this for you 3 or 4 times, I will repeat my answer then. He was forced to do so because a whistleblower within the FBI was going outside the FBI because the FBI and James Comey were attempting to conceal evidence of possible criminality of Hillary Clinton that was found on Anthony Weiner's laptop.
None of that forces Comey to make any statement.
Sure it does, because he knew that the chances of harming Hillary Clinton would be more significant if he continued and forced that whistleblower to go outside, and then another agency would have to say, James Comey buried this evidence to ensure Hillary Clinton was elected.
Do you have any proof that Comey said that he felt pressured by the whistleblower to go public to help Hillary's campaign?
Additional discussions took place on October 3rd and 4th, 2016. However, after October 4th, we found no evidence anyone associated with the mid-year investigation, including the entire leadership team at FBI headquarters, took any action on the Weiner laptop issue until October 24th, and they did so only after the Weiner case agent expressed concerns to the Southern District of New York, prompting the Southern District of New York to contact the Deputy Attorney General on October 27th to raise concerns about the lack of action. So they had their traditional mid-year investigation that this agent was part of. They had the top FBI leadership that was part of that they were contacting. They repeatedly contacted them and made it known.
Southern District of New York is the Attorney's Office for the Southern District of New York.
Right.
Okay, got it.
So it's not specifically FBI. So he then goes outside of that case of the task force and of the top FBI brass that aren't giving him results and goes to the Southern District of New York. The Southern District of New York is worried enough about it that they contact the FBI and they're like, what's going on? This is what forced Comey's hand, as he admitted in his book, and I believe as the IG...
Why did this force Comey to publicly announce the reopening of the investigation?
Because, as Comey admitted, and I believe the IG report might suggest this, and Comey admitted in his book, he thought that Hillary Clinton was easily going to re-win an election. And he thought it would be an
No. That's why he said that he didn't think it would matter as much. But I'm asking, what prompted him to announce it publicly?
If you would let me finish, I'm explaining. And so because of such, he was worried that had Hillary won, and then it came out, James Comey gave a public press conference where he exonerated Hillary and said, nope, we've looked at all the evidence. There's nothing to see here. If anything new comes up, we'd let you know, but there's nothing to see here, or, no reasonable prosecutor would prosecute. All the time knowing that there were hundreds of thousands of emails that Comey and the FBI was aware of, but chose to not investigate, and then privately looked at them. Let's say he didn't announce it, he just privately. And then Hillary wins the election. That what Comey was worried about was, rightfully, people would say, James Comey lied. James Comey covered up that there was all these other emails through another person that didn't have the right to see these.
None of what you're saying makes sense. Why didn't he just reopen the investigation but not say anything publicly about it?
Okay, let me repeat again. Maybe I'm talking too fast, right? Because he knew that it would eventually come public, that the public thought the case was closed because he said the case was closed.
Why did he ever even make the announcement that the case was closed? Why did he say anything publicly ever?
Okay, so now we're on. So now we could see that the idea of the second part of it, why did he re-announce the opening? He did so in an attempt because, one, they were trying to cover up for Hillary Clinton, and second, because a whistleblower went outside that it forced their hand to publicly say.
You still haven't proved anything about the whistleblower going outside and forcing his hand. You're trying to make the claim that, like, if the investigation would have continued, the fact that this guy that was contacting the Southern District of New York would have shown that they didn't investigate fast. Like, none of this makes sense. Why didn't the FBI announce like their investigation into Donald Trump at the time?
What do you think the IG meant by this? FBI headquarters took any action on the Weiner laptop until October 24th. Quote, and then did so only after the Weiner case agent expressed concerns to the Southern District of New York, prompting the Southern District of New York to contact the Office of the Deputy Attorney General on October 21st to raise concerns about lack of action. What do you think he's saying? Why do you think the IG made it a point to say, it seems like they only took action after this FBI agent went outside the agency to talk to a different agency, and that agency then contacted the FBI about their concerns, and then finally they reopened? done. I think it is
It
a
seems
reasonable
like what it's saying
extract.
is that the FBI was dragging their feet on this for some reason, and it seems like they only fucking took action on it after the Southern District of New York contacted the Office of the Deputy Attorney General because another guy was raising concerns about it.
Right. That's exactly what I'm saying. The only term of right.
You're saying that this motivated Comey to start making public announcements about the investigation.
No, I said that that's why they reopened the investigation and the reason that he did it public. So they were trying to cover up either. Okay, let me say this. This either shows through incompetence or corruption. They weren't looking at these emails that they themselves admit were important, but chose not to look at them. They knew they existed.
Wait. They themselves admitted it was important. I thought that
Correct.
They just didn't give a fuck because they thought it wasn't whatever. Didn't it end up being nothing?
To my question, you seem to suggest that they didn't think it was a big deal. Can you explain what this sentence means? Quote, McCabe told the OIG he considered the information provided by Sweeney, the agent that talked to him about these. Well, let's go up a little. Sweeney said he also spoke to the FBI Assistant Director Bill Precept on September 28th and 29th, 2016. Emails indicate their conversation September 29th. They'd escaped the scope of the Weiner laptop. McCabe told the OIG he considered the information provided by Sweeney to be a big deal, and said he instructed Precept to send a team to New York to review the emails. That seems to be, again, can you admit you were wrong when you said they didn't think it was a big deal? Can you admit that? Don't pivot. Just admit you were wrong when you said that, right?
That was what it seemed to be to me, is that they didn't think it was a big deal. Yeah.
No. So when you saying, so I just want to be clear, your argument is when McCabe told the OIG he thought this was, quote, a big deal, your interpretation is he didn't think it was a big deal.
Is McCabe part of the executive team?
McCabe is the assistant director of the FBI.
About the lack of action. Yeah, I don't know. My assumption would be that they didn't think it was a big deal, but apparently McCabe said it was a big deal. So why did McCabe say they sat on it? What was his explanation?
They didn't have one. And if you follow the IG report later, it says that the explanation that was given by the FBI to the IG was basically that they had, I forget exactly how they worded it.
As we describe in Chapter 9 of our report, the explanations we were given for the FBI's failure to take immediate action on the Weiner laptop fell into 4 general categories. 1, the FBI mid-year team was waiting for additional information about the contents of the laptop from NYO, which was not provided until late October. 2, the FBI mid-year team could not review the emails without additional legal authority, such as consent or a new search warrant. 3, the FBI mid-year team and senior FBI officials did not believe that the information on the laptop was likely to be significant. And 4, key members of the FBI mid-year team had been reassigned to the investigation of Russian interference in the U.S. election, which was a higher priority. We found that these explanations to be unpersuasive justifications about acting sooner, given the FBI's leadership's conclusions about the importance of the information, and the FBI mid-year team had sufficient information to take action in early October and knew at the time that it would need a new search warrant to review any Clinton-Abedin emails. Moreover, given the FBI's extensive resource, the fact that Strzok and several other FBI members of the mid-year team had been assigned to the Russian investigation, which was extremely active during the September and October time period, was not an excuse for failing to take any action during this time period on the Weiner laptop. So could it?
Let's keep going. Let's keep reading. The FBI's failure to act in late September.
Failure to act in late September or early October is even less justifiable when contrasted with the attention and resources of the FBI management and some members of the mid-year team dedicated to other activities in connection with the mid-year investigation during the same period. As detailed in Chapter 8, these activities included the preparation of Comey's speech at the FBI SAC conference on October 12th. You want me to keep reading?
Just the last sentence. Once it gets to the paragraph, I'll read it. In assessing the decision to prioritize the Russia investigation over following up on the mid-year related investigative lead discovered on the Weiner laptop, we were particularly concerned about text messages sent by Strzok and Page that potentially indicated or created the appearance that investigative decisions they made were impacted by bias or improper considerations. So in other words, what this just said in totality is they knew that these emails were important. Their email suggested it. They intentionally didn't act upon it until a whistleblower went outside the agency. That outside agency then goes to the FBI, which forced their hand. But even at the end of it, they can't be certain that the they are not persuaded by the FBI's excuses and actually think that the text messages between Strzok and Page showing obvious bias may have had a conclusion to prioritize going after Trump and Hillary.
Yeah, so that might be the narrative that you're spinning, but it sounds like what's being assessed in this report, or what's being asserted in this report, is that there definitely could have been some bias. I think the Durham report said as much, that they wanted to prioritize the Russia investigation because they thought that there was something more juicy there, and that it seemed to be the case that this particular laptop, they didn't have any good reasons to not pursue it. But why? It seems like a combination of like either incompetence or just like bias here is feeling these things. There's not an intentional effort to obscure or hide this.
That's untrue. That's you inserting your own narrative in the first place.
No, I said that I don't know why he ever announced the reopening the investigation. And you said it's because he felt pressure by a whistleblower.
Right. So you just admit, you said, I don't know why he announced the reopening. That's what I thought you said. Right,
Yeah.
right. The reopening, which is exactly what I showed. My version of the events were
why didn't he
accurate.
announce it? That was the crazy part. Them reopening the investigation, there's nothing wrong with that. If the FBI wants to reopen an investigation, do it. But announcing it publicly is a big break from norms that super damaged Hillary's campaign.
He announced it publicly, as I said, because that he would, and you have nothing to dispute this, as he said in his book, which I don't have in front of me, he thought Hillary Clinton was going to win, and he thought that, seeing as how he told Congress that the case was closed, he told the American people the case was closed. If it really wasn't closed, right, and the American people later found out that it looks like the FBI was intentionally not acting on this information until a whistleblower forced their hand, that they would correctly blame James Comey and the FBI for putting their thumb on the scale by lying to the American people and saying the case was closed when it wasn't.
This is conjecture that you can't prove.
As we described in Chapter 10 of our report, the fact is considered where Comey's belief the failure to disclose the existence of emails.
Wait, where did you just, well, holy shit. Oh,
page 14.
Of the Weiner. No, page 15 now, right?
Yeah, so that was, I started on page 14, so now we're on page 15. Quote, first, Comey's belief that failure to disclose the existence of the emails would be considered an act of concealment. Well, isn't that what I said? That he was worried the American people would say, oh, he said the investigation was closed, and then they reopened it, and that he lied to us, he covered this up. Are you willing to admit you're wrong?
The American public, Rob, I don't even know what the fuck we're talking about right now. Hold on. Is this belief that failure to disclose the existence must be an act of concealment to the American public or to Congress or what?
Let me read this slowly again, right? The issue of...
Wait. You don't have to reread it. I can read.
Well, you're not doing a great job then. Because it's answering your questions. I have read all this before. I just didn't know where it was in this document because I just searched them. So as you're talking, I literally go to the paragraph you stopped, and it's answering the questions almost verbatim in the way that I answer them to you, with you saying there's no proof. It's just my conjecture. So can I read the reasons that James Comey announced this? Isn't that what you're waiting for? Let's read them. One, sure. His belief that failure to disclose the existence of the emails would be considered an act of concealment. Second, the belief that Comey had an obligation to update Congress because discovery was potentially significant and made his prior testimony the investigation was closed no longer true. Third, you ready for this one? An implicit assumption that Hillary would be elected president, which is exactly what I said. He was worried that she would be elected president, and this would be seen as him concealing it, so he was forced to announce, hurry up and close the investigation, which is exactly what I told you.
Wait, you told me that a whistleblower had pressured him to fear that the information were legally... Oh, if they... Yeah, I heard you. Yeah.
So the reason that they reopened it was the whistleblower. The reason that he went public, he thought Hillary Clinton was going to win.
Wait, that is not the reason. That's like one of like 10 reasons listed here.
Okay, you want to go through the rest? They're all in conjunction with what I said there.
Concern that failing to disclose resulted in an accusation the FBI had engineered a cover-up to help get Clinton elected. Concerns about protecting the reputation of the FBI. Concerns about the perceived illegitimacy of a Clinton presidency that would follow from a failure to disclose to discover the emails if they proved to be significant. Concerns about the electoral impact concerns about the electoral impact of any announcement, and the belief that the email review could not be completed before the election.
Right. First, let me just say, I'll answer your question, but that's a pivot, right? So I was correct, and I would appreciate acknowledgement that I was correct as to why it was reopened and why it was announced that it was reopened. I was correct. Almost all of those reasons.
My initial question had to do with the announcing of the initial closure, but sure, for the reopening, well, you were correct, yes. Although when I asked you, you just said he only felt the pressure to announce this because he announced the closing of the last one. But now that we've read this, now you're going back to, oh no, wait, actually, I did remember this.
No,
I'll give it to you. Sure.
No, I had said quite specifically that he thought that Hillary Clinton was going to win. That's what he said in his book, and that it would be an albatross around her neck, and it would be considered that the FBI covered up for Hillary to help her win. And almost every one of these reasons that they give, that it would damage the reputation of the FBI, that it would be accused that the FBI had a conspiracy to help Hillary, that he thought Hillary was going to win. Almost everything the IG report says is in total line with what I initially said. I read it before, but I forgot that where it was in the document. And as I briefly went down as you were talking, the document literally backs up.
I understand. Yes.
Okay. Thank you. Now,